a millionaire CEO asked his son to choose a mother from among the high society women, but the boy surprised him by choosing the housekeeper. Before we dive into the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. For years, William Whitmore had heard the same phrase from his father. A CEO needs stability, a prestigious wife, a family image. But William always resisted. He knew Jorge wasn't talking about love. He was talking about appearances, reputation, headlines. The Whitmore empire demanded a perfect front. But William wasn't willing to put his own son's happiness on display for the press. Then one day, William had a crazy idea. Invite beautiful, sophisticated single women. All of them had flirted with him at some point, and Hor, his father, would certainly approve of them as ideal wives. As the guests toasted, William watched everything with a sharp eye. Nothing went unnoticed. He had one thing on his mind: who would genuinely be kind to his son? While William scanned the scene like a casting director, Noah was putting on his own show. He was wearing a superhero cape made from a tablecloth and running through the garden yelling, "Emergency! A melting ice cream needs rescuing!" He jumped on decorative pillows, climbed chairs, and spied on the guests through toy binoculars, while the socialites tried to keep their balance and their dignity in high heels. "Hi, Noah. Would you like to have an elegant mother like me?" a blonde woman asked, smiling as wide as she could. "I'd like to have a rocket that shoots marshmallows," he replied and dashed off. Another one approached him with a shiny gift. "I brought you a vegan cooking kit. Does that taste like broccoli mixed with punishment?" Later, he burst into the room riding an inflatable robot he dragged in from the garden, shouting, "This robot is now my battle horse!" "Sir," a security guard yelled, "everything's under control. I'm a trained commander," Noah shouted back. A socialite tried to pat his head and ended up with whipped cream on her dress. "Oops, surprise attack, whipped cream leak." William did his best to keep a straight face. On the outside, he raised his champagne glass. On the inside, he was fighting back laughter, but he kept watching, and none of those women showed any empathy. There were only faces of shock, disgust, or judgment. No one seemed to understand that Noah was just Noah, a whirlwind of creativity and chaos. At the back of the house, near the outdoor buffet kitchen, Eliza was trying to save a rebellious pot. "Don't explode, don't explode. Oh, great, now you're bubbling like lava," she whispered to the red berry sauce. It was her third event of the day. She was exhausted. As a contract worker, she did everything: arrived early, left late, set up tables, made many burgers, entertained kids, and still managed to smile at demanding clients. And the rent was due in 2 days. So when she heard a noise behind her, she assumed it was another waiter with an impossible request. But no, it was a blonde boy with bright eyes and 2 plastic spoons hanging from his ears. "Hi, are you a lost little guest?" "I'm Noah. Do you have pancakes?" She raised an eyebrow. "Not on the party menu, but I can make some. Pancakes are my secret specialty." "With syrup like that one over there trying to escape the pot?" "With anything you want, but only if you promise not to tell the chef I burned half of the strawberries." "Deal, and I'll take whipped cream in honor of the Queen of Planet Pancake." 10 minutes later, Noah was eating pancakes while sitting on a fruit crate like a king on his veggie throne. "These are officially the best pancakes in the universe, and I've had pancakes made with corn chips once. My nanny grabbed the wrong bag." Eliza laughed. "Well, I know how to cook, and I only yell when the rent is due." "You're different from the other ladies at the party. You don't smell like a perfume store. You listened to me and gave me a napkin and a pancake." "I vaguely remember your name as Noah, not Pancake Inspector." "I prefer General Noah. She called me that." Eliza laughed again, shaking her head. The boy was impossible and completely charming. Later, as the sun started to set, the socialites were fixing their hair, hiding cake stains, and some had already left, defeated by a boy they described as too wild. William pulled Noah aside. "So, champ, did you like the party? There was magic, there was chocolate. One lady called me the CEO sweetie and tried to bite me. I ran." William held back a laugh. "Can I ask you an important question? If it's about brushing my teeth, I did, but only the top ones. It's about something else. Of all the women who came today, which one would you like to be your future mom?" Noah opened his mouth, closed it, thought for a moment, snapped his fingers like a cartoon detective, and then he shouted, pointing toward the kitchen tent, "Her! She'll be my new mom!" Silence fell over the place. "She smells nice, makes pancakes with whipped cream and strawberries, and gave me the title of general." Every head turned. Eliza stood there frozen, holding a spatula in one hand and with whipped cream in her hair. She looked like she had just been dropped into a scene from a telenovela. I'm just the cook. I want her as my mom, Dad, the pancake lady." William froze. Eliza blinked. A socialite dropped her glass, another choked on a mini spinach quiche, and in that silent moment, something very serious was about to happen. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. "No, no, no!" Eliza waved her hands frantically, still holding the spatula as if it were a magic wand that could undo the whole situation. "People, there's been a misunderstanding. I work for the catering company. I barely even know you." But Noah kept pointing at her with the determination of a general declaring war. "Dad, she is perfect. She makes pancakes that float in the sky, and she smells like vanilla, and she didn't call me sweetie while trying to pinch my cheeks." The socialites exchanged horrified glances. One whispered to another, "A maid? Really? The kid is 6 and already has questionable taste." William stood frozen, caught between social embarrassment and the tenderness of seeing his son so excited. He tried to speak, but was interrupted by a deep, authoritative voice. "What is going on here?" Jorge Whitmore appeared like a stern judge, wearing an immaculate suit and standing with military posture. His eyes scanned the scene, his grandson pointing at a woman covered in flour, the stunned guests, his son in shock. "Grandpa George!" Noah ran to him. "I picked my new mom. It's her, the pancake queen." Jorge followed his grandson's gaze and found Eliza, who was trying to discreetly hide behind a tray of mini sandwiches. "An employee?" Jorge's voice cut through the air like a blade. "My grandson chose a maid?" "Sir, I can explain," Eliza began, but silence fell again as he silenced her with an imperious gesture.
"There's nothing to explain, young lady. It's clear what happened here." He turned to William with eyes blazing. "You let one of the staff manipulate my grandson?" "Dad, please calm down," William tried to intervene. "Calm down?" Jorge's voice rose. "This is the future heir of the Whitmore family. He can't be influenced by just anyone who shows up with sweets." Eliza felt her blood boil. She dropped the spatula onto the table with a sharp thud. "Listen here, Mr. Fancy Suit." She planted her hands on her hips. "I didn't manipulate anyone. I just did my job and was kind to a child, something that apparently is rare around here." Shocked murmurs rippled through the guests. Jorge's face turned red. "How dare you speak to me like that? Do you know who you're talking to?" "To a rude man who judges people by their job." Eliza didn't back down an inch. "I work honestly. I pay my bills, and I don't need anyone's approval. You're just a what? Go ahead. A maid? An ordinary person? Someone who doesn't wear designer clothes?" Noah began to sob. The raised voices, the tension in the air, it was scaring him. "You're fighting," he said through tears. "I don't want you to fight. I just wanted—" William saw his son's tears, and something inside him broke. He stepped forward. "Enough." His voice echoed across the garden. "All of you. Enough." The silence returned instantly. Noah was crying, the guests were embarrassed, and the 2 adults were acting like children. William took a deep breath. Miss Eliza. Eliza Martinez. Miss Martinez, may I speak with you in private? Jorge tried to protest. William, you can't possibly be thinking... Dad, please, 5 minutes. William picked up Noah, who was still quietly crying, and motioned for Eliza to follow him to a more secluded corner of the garden, away from curious eyes. When they reached a spot near an ornamental fountain, William set Noah down and knelt to his son's level. Champ, Daddy needs to talk to Eliza about something important. How about you go play in the treehouse for a few minutes? You're not going to fight anymore. We're not going to fight, I promise. Noah waved at Eliza before running off, and she waved back, making him smile for the first time since the voices had risen. William stood up and faced Eliza. For a moment, they studied each other in silence. I'm sorry for what happened back there. My father can be intense. Intense is a polite word for prejudiced. You're right, and you've got the kind of backbone to stand up to him. Most people don't. I don't tolerate disrespect from anyone, no matter how many zeros they have in their bank account. William almost smiled. Almost. Look, I know this is going to sound completely crazy, but he hesitated, running a hand through his hair. My son has never reacted to anyone like this. He lost his mother at birth, and ever since, well, he's never really bonded with any mother figure. Eliza waited quietly. What I'm about to ask is strange, I know, but would you consider coming to live at our house for 2 weeks? What? Let me explain. William held up his hands. It's not what you're thinking. The idea is for you to gently help Noah understand that he can't be his mom, that you have your own life, your own plans. You want me to break a 6-year-old's heart? I want him to face the truth before he gets even more hurt. William sighed. Look, I'd pay well, very well. 2 weeks, room and board included, and you'd walk away with enough to cover your expenses for several months. Eliza stayed silent. Rent was overdue. The catering job was temporary. She was in desperate need of money. How much? William named a figure that made Eliza's eyes go wide. That's more than I make in 6 months. It's the price of my peace of mind and my son's happiness. Eliza glanced at Noah, who was waving at her from the treehouse. I might say yes, she said slowly, but I have conditions. What are they? First, I sleep in the guest room with the door locked. Second, no romantic confusion, no weird looks, no misunderstandings. Third, I can leave any time I want, no questions asked. Agreed. Fourth, if your father disrespects me again, I'll give it right back, and you stay out of it. William paused a moment. Agreed. Fifth, I cook for Noah whenever I feel like it, however I want, pancakes included. That one's easy. And sixth, Eliza looked him straight in the eye. When the 2 weeks are over, you don't try to make me stay. Don't use Noah to change my mind. When I say I'm leaving, that's it. William extended his hand. Do we have a deal, Miss Martinez? Eliza shook his hand, trying to ignore the strange tingling she felt from the touch. We have a deal, Mr. Whitmore. Across the garden, Jorge watched the scene, disapprovingly. The socialites whispered their theories, and Noah, from the treehouse, clapped like he had just witnessed the show of a lifetime. What none of them knew was that that handshake would change everything. Absolutely everything. The next morning, Eliza stood in front of the Whitmore mansion with a worn backpack on one shoulder and a suitcase that had definitely seen better days. She looked up, trying to count how many floors the building had. My God, is this a house or a shopping mall? The mansion looked like something out of a period film. Massive white columns, perfectly trimmed gardens, and a fountain that probably cost more than her entire apartment. 3 luxury cars were parked in the circular driveway, gleaming like jewels in the morning sun. A middle-aged man in a spotless suit and military posture opened the main door. "You must be Miss Eliza Martinez. I'm Winston, the Whitmore family's butler." "Oh, hi. Wow, you're a real butler." "For 3 generations, miss. Allow me to take your luggage." He looked at Eliza's suitcase as if it might carry some kind of contagious disease. "No need, I'll carry it myself." She smiled. "It's not heavy, just 2 outfits and my flannel pajamas with taco print." Winston clearly didn't know what to make of that. Inside, the mansion took Eliza's breath away. The entry hall had a chandelier that looked like it belonged in a palace, sweeping staircases on both sides, and enormous portraits of stern-looking people from the past who seemed to disapprove of her presence. Wow, I bet even stomach growls echo in here. "Pardon me, miss." Nothing. It's very grand." "Eliza! Eliza!" Noah came running down the staircase, sliding down the railing like a little surfer. "You came? You really came?" He jumped into her arms and she spun him around. "Of course I did, General."
A promise is a promise. Come on, I'll show you your room. It's right next to mine, and it has this huge bathtub that looks like a pool. Noah tugged her by the hand, leading her up the stairs. Winston followed at a respectful distance, carrying the suitcase as if it weighed a ton. The guest room was bigger than Elisa's entire apartment. It had a king-size bed, a balcony with a view of the garden, a walk-in closet big enough for a small family, and a marble bathroom that sparkled like a jewelry store. "This place is ridiculously huge," Elisa muttered. "It even has a remote for the curtains," Noah demonstrated, opening and closing them dramatically. "And the bathtub has jets like a spa." "Miss," Winston interrupted, "lunch will be served at 12:30. Mr. William asked that you take some time to get familiar with the house. I will assist you." Once Winston left, Elisa flopped down on the massive bed. "Noah, this is bigger than a soccer field. How do you not get lost?" "Oh, I get lost all the time. One time, I spent 2 hours looking for the kitchen and ended up in Grandpa Gore's wine cellar. He was not happy." Elisa laughed. "How about giving me a tour? I'm officially a lost explorer." The tour was a hilarious disaster. Noah took her through hallways that felt like mazes, pointing out rooms with specific names: formal living room, informal living room, main library, secondary library, formal dining room, family dining room. "You have 2 libraries?" 3, actually. The third one is in Dad's office, but it's boring, just business books and numbers. After half an hour, Elisa was completely lost. "Okay, little guide, where's the kitchen again?" This way." Noah pointed down a hallway identical to the other 20 they'd already passed. 10 minutes later, Elisa found herself alone, because Noah had run off chasing a cat that had appeared out of nowhere. She tried to find her way back to her room, but all the hallways looked the same. "All right, smart house, where's the kitchen?" she asked aloud. To her surprise, a computerized female voice responded. "I didn't understand your command. Please repeat." Elisa jumped. What was that? Who spoke? "I'm the house's virtual assistant. How may I help you?" Can you take me to the kitchen?" "Follow the lights on the floor." Blue lights lit up on the floor, creating a path. Elisa followed them, amazed. This is straight out of a sci-fi movie. The kitchen was a culinary dream. Huge central island, professional stove, 2 giant refrigerators, and appliances that looked like they came from a spaceship. Elisa walked up to one of the refrigerators, looking for the handle. How do I open this?" She ran her hand over the smooth surface. Suddenly, the refrigerator spoke. "Access denied. User not recognized." "What do you mean not recognized? I'm a person." "Please register your fingerprint on the panel." "What panel? I just want a glass of water." She started pressing random buttons. The refrigerator began flashing red lights and sounding an alarm. "Warning, unauthorized access attempt."
Hey, calm down, crazy fridge." Winston came running in, his face a mix of panic and resignation. "Miss Martinez, what are you doing?" "Trying to get some water. This fridge has trust issues." Winston typed in a code and the fridge calmed down. "The kitchen has security systems, miss. I'll set up your access later." "Security systems on a fridge? What are you storing in there, diamonds?" At that moment, William appeared in the kitchen doorway, dressed in a dark suit, wearing a serious expression. "Winston, what was that alarm?" "A minor misunderstanding with the house system, sir." William looked at Eliza, who was clearly embarrassed, then quickly looked away. "Miss Martinez, I hope you're settling in." "Oh yes, your house is educational. I've learned that even the fridges here have PhDs in security." William almost smiled. Almost. "If you need anything, just ask Winston." And he left the kitchen as if he couldn't get out fast enough. Later, after a formal lunch, where Eliza needed a tutorial on which fork to use for each course, she decided to take a relaxing bath. She found what she thought was the bathroom to her room, opened the door, and stepped in, distracted, thinking about the hot tub. But when she looked up, she saw William coming out of the shower wearing only a towel around his waist. They both froze. William had water dripping down his defined shoulders, wet hair slicked back, and a completely shocked expression. Eliza was speechless, clearly letting her eyes wander where they shouldn't. She stammered. William began. "Wrong door," Eliza shouted, covering her eyes with her hands, but leaving her fingers slightly open. "Okay, maybe just a little." "But you're still looking," William said, trying to stay composed but clearly struggling not to laugh. "I'm not," she protested, still peeking through her fingers. "Your fingers are apart." Eliza quickly closed her hands completely and bumped against the wall, trying to find the door. "Where's the door? Why does this house have so many doors?" "A little to the left." "Your left or my left?" "The left of someone facing. You do know you're spinning in circles, right?" Eliza finally found the doorknob and bolted out, slamming the door behind her. Outside, she leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "Oh my God, he has." "Focus, Eliza, focus." On the other side of the door, William was trying not to laugh too loudly. At the end of the hallway, Noah was watching everything with a mischievous smile. "Dad, why is Eliza as red as a tomato?" William appeared at the doorway, already dressed, but with damp hair. She got lost again. "I'm going to make her a map." Noah ran off, excited about his new mission, leaving William and Eliza staring at each other with a mix of embarrassment and something neither of them wanted to admit. The first day at the mansion was turning out to be unforgettable. In the days that followed, Eliza completely changed the Whitmore mansion's routine into something the family had never experienced before: genuine fun. It all started that first morning when Noah showed up at her room at 7 a.m., still in pajamas and with his hair sticking up in every direction. "Eliza, time for magic pancakes." "I don't panic, General. It's 7 a.m. Even the birds are still sleeping." "The birds are lazy. I already brushed my teeth, washed my face, and fed my fish. Now I need pancakes to have superhero energy." Eliza laughed and got up.
In the kitchen, she taught Noah how to make pancakes, but not in the usual way. She had a special technique, tossing the batter into the air and catching it in the pan. "Is that even possible?" Noah asked, fascinated. "Of course. You just have to calculate the trajectory, gravity, and hope it doesn't stick to the ceiling. And if it sticks, then we become scientists and study space pancakes." On the third try, the pancake really did stick to the ceiling. Noah laughed so hard he almost fell off his chair. "Now we have a pet pancake," he shouted, pointing upward. Winston appeared in the doorway, saw the pancake hanging there, let out a deep sigh, and walked away without saying a word. Through the glass door on the other side of the kitchen, William watched the scene while sipping his coffee. There was something mesmerizing about the way Eliza interacted with Noah. She didn't treat him like a fragile porcelain child. She treated him like a small but intelligent human being with valid opinions and ideas. That afternoon, Eliza found out Noah had never had a real bubble bath. "What do you mean, never?" she asked, shocked. "The nanny always said bubbles make a mess and that boys don't need frills." That nanny didn't know the joys of life. "We're going to make an epic bubble bath." She filled Noah's tub with warm water and poured in so much soap that the bubbles rose to the edge. Noah stepped in and stared in amazement. "It looks like a cloud," he said, blowing foam into the air. "And look," Eliza grabbed a straw, "you can make giant bubbles." They spent an hour building foam castles, soap boats, and Noah even learned to make a fake beard with bubbles imitating Grandpa Gore. William passed by the hallway and heard the laughter coming from the bathroom. He stopped to listen. It had been a long time since he had heard his son laugh like that. Free, spontaneous, genuinely happy. At dinner, Eliza invented the funny voices game. Everyone had to tell how their day went while imitating a different character. Noah chose to be a robot. William resisted at first, but ended up doing a cowboy impression, and even Winston, while serving the table, threw in a few pirate-accented comments. Jorge, who arrived in the middle of the game, stood at the dining room door watching a family he barely recognized. His serious son was doing cartoon voices, his grandson was beaming, and a maid had turned a formal dinner into a comedy show. He left without saying a word, but with a thoughtful expression. That night, after Noah was asleep, Eliza stood on her balcony, looking out at the illuminated garden. The air was fresh, and she felt strangely at peace in a place that had seemed so foreign just a few days earlier. "Can't sleep?" She turned and saw William at the balcony door holding 2 cups of tea. "Oh, hi." "No, I'm still getting used to all this quiet. In my apartment, there's always traffic noise, neighbors arguing, dogs barking. Must feel strange to be here." "It's different. Not necessarily bad, just different." William walked over and handed her one of the mugs. They stood in silence for a few minutes, looking out at the city lights in the distance. "Can I ask you something?" William said at last. "Sure." "Why are you so natural with Noah? Most people get intimidated or they try too hard to impress him, but you just act like yourself." Eliza thought for a moment. "I guess it's because I remember what it felt like to be a kid and not be taken seriously. My parents died when I was little, and I was raised by aunts who always talked about me like I wasn't even in the room. Eliza is so stubborn. Eliza is messy, like I was some kind of difficult object, not a real person with feelings. I'm sorry." "No need. It made me stronger, and it taught me that kids need to be heard, not just tolerated." William watched her in profile. There was something about the way she spoke, an honesty he rarely encountered in his world of business and appearances. "What about you?" Eliza asked. "What's it like being a single father?" William let out a sigh. "Terrifying. Every day I wonder if I'm doing anything right, if he'll grow up happy, or if he'll need therapy because of the choices I've made. He loves you so much. That much is clear. But is that enough? Sometimes I look at him and see the mother he never got to meet, and I feel guilty that I can't be both things for him." Eliza turned to face him. "You don't have to be both. You just need to be the best father you can be. And from what I see, you already are." They looked at each other for a moment, and something passed between them, a connection neither of them had expected. William cleared his throat. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about extending our agreement." "What do you mean?" "Instead of 2 weeks, what about 3 months?" Eliza looked surprised. 3 months? "Noah's never been this happy, and I think you're good for him. Of course, it would be the same arrangement. No romantic involvement, no complications, just a temporary caregiver." Eliza hesitated. 3 months in that house with that man, growing closer to that boy? I don't know, William. 3 months is a long time, and the longer I stay, the harder it will be on Noah when I leave. What if it didn't have to be temporary? The question slipped out before William could stop himself. They looked at each other, both caught off guard by the vulnerability of the moment. Sorry, William backed away. I mean, the agreement is clear, no complications. But Eliza had already seen something in his eyes, something that made her heart beat a little bit faster. 3 months, she said finally. Same agreement, same rules. Same agreement, William agreed. They shook hands again, but this time the handshake lasted just a little longer than necessary. And when they let go, both of them knew something had changed between them. The next morning, Eliza was in the kitchen teaching Noah how to make heart-shaped scrambled eggs when the doorbell rang. Moments later, Winston appeared with a look that was somewhere between discomfort and professional restraint. Mr. William, Miss Veronica Sterling is at the door. She insists on speaking with you. William, who was sitting at the breakfast table reading the paper, immediately tensed up. Veronica? What does she want? She said it's urgent and personal. Eliza noticed the shift in the atmosphere. Noah stopped stirring the eggs and looked at his father with curiosity. Who's Veronica, Daddy? She's an old friend, William said, clearly uncomfortable. Winston, just tell her I... But before he could finish, the sound of high heels echoed through the front hallway. A stunning woman appeared in the kitchen doorway as if she was making the grand entrance of a queen. Veronica Sterling was everything Eliza wasn't. Tall, slim, dressed in a designer outfit worth more than a car, perfectly styled blonde hair, flawless makeup. Even at 9 o'clock in the morning, she wore expensive sunglasses, but she pushed them up on her head with a dramatic gesture. William, darling, she sang in a syrupy voice, ignoring everyone else in the room. You look wonderful. It's like no time has passed at all.
Veronica? William stood clearly surprised. What are you doing here? I came to see you, of course, and to finally meet this little prince of yours. She turned to Noah with a smile that looked painted on. You must be Noah. My goodness, look how big you've gotten. Such a handsome young man. Noah shrank behind his chair, clearly uncomfortable with her over-the-top energy. Hi, he mumbled. How adorably shy. Veronica stepped closer and reached out to touch his hair, but Noah pulled away. I'm Veronica, a very special friend of your daddy's. Eliza watched the whole scene with growing irritation. There was something about the woman's tone that felt completely fake, like an actress in a badly rehearsed play. William, can we talk in private? Veronica asked, finally noticing Eliza. And who's this? Eliza Martinez. She's helping out with Noah. Oh, the nanny, Veronica said with a condescending smile. How cute. Would you mind giving us a moment, dear? Eliza felt her blood boil, but before she could say anything, Noah spoke up. She's not a nanny. She's my almost mom, and she makes pancakes that fly. Veronica let out a light, forced laugh. Oh, what an imagination. William, we really do need to talk. Reluctantly, William followed Veronica into the living room, leaving Eliza and Noah in the kitchen. Through the slightly open door, they could hear bits of the conversation. William, I made a terrible mistake. These past 6 months without you made me realize how much I love you. Veronica, we broke up for a reason. I know, but I've changed, darling. I've grown. And now I see how much you need a partner who matches your world, someone who understands your responsibilities. Eliza rolled her eyes and whispered to Noah, Does she have a degree in theater? Noah giggled quietly. In the other room, Veronica continued her rehearsed monologue. And Noah, he needs a refined mother figure, someone who can prepare him for the sophisticated world he's growing into. Just imagine the events we could host, the social connections. She's talking about me like I'm a decorating project, Noah whispered to Eliza. In the days that followed, Veronica showed up at the mansion every single day. Always flawless, always bringing expensive gifts for Noah, always going on about what a wonderful mother she would be. In front of William, she was the picture of perfection. She played with Noah, praised his drawings, suggested educational and cultural activities. But as soon as William left the room, the mask dropped. On the second day, Noah was playing with his toy cars in the living room when Veronica walked in talking on the phone. "Yes, darling, I'm at William's house. No, I haven't managed to get rid of the little maid yet. The boy, he's polite enough. Nothing a good military school can't fix." Noah pretended to be focused on his toys, but he heard every word. On the third day, things got worse. Noah came in from the garden after playing with Winston, his sneakers slightly dusty. "Stop right there," Veronica shouted, making Noah jump. "What kind of manners are those? Coming into the room with filthy shoes." "I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. Go wash those feet right now and next time think before acting like some street kid." Noah's eyes welled up with tears and he ran out. A few minutes later, when William came back from a phone call, Veronica was arranging the pillows on the couch with an angelic expression. "Where's Noah?" William asked. "Oh, he went to change clothes. Such a smart boy, already learning social etiquette." That evening, Noah found Eliza in the kitchen making dinner. He was unusually quiet, and she noticed right away. "What's going on, General? Tough day on the battlefield?" Noah climbed up onto a stool beside her and let out a deep sigh. "Eliza, can I tell you a secret?" "Always. We're pancake partners, remember?" "Veronica yelled at me today, loudly. She said she used a mean word." Eliza stopped slicing onions. "What happened?" "I came into the living room with dirty shoes. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to show Dad the drawing I made in the garden, but she yelled that I was rude and said I looked like a street kid." Eliza froze, knife mid-air. "She said that?" "And when Dad came back, she acted like nothing happened. She smiled and said I was smart. But it wasn't a real smile, Eliza. It didn't reach her eyes." Eliza knelt down to his level. "You're right about the smile. Real people smile with their whole face. Do you think Dad's gonna marry her?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but I do know this. No one deserves to be treated like that." "What should I do?" Eliza thought for a moment. Then she smiled, this time with a fire behind it. "Leave it to me, General. Tomorrow, Veronica's going to find out that messing with my boy was the biggest mistake she ever made." Noah smiled for the first time that day. "Are you going to use your pancakes as a weapon?" "No, sweetheart. I'm going to use something much more powerful." "What?" "The truth." In the next room, Veronica was busy convincing William of the benefits of sending Noah to a boarding school for his own good. William listened, but something nagged at the back of his mind. Lately, Noah had seemed quieter, less spontaneous. Coincidence? He was about to find out it wasn't. The next morning, Eliza woke up with a mission. She'd spent the entire night thinking about Noah's sad face and Veronica's cruel words. No one, absolutely no one, was going to mistreat that boy while she was around. She had prepared a special breakfast. Perfect pancakes, golden and fluffy, stacked like a tower. But this time, she made a few extras. Ammunition, just in case. Noah came into the kitchen, still in his pajamas, hair sticking up in every direction. "Good morning, General. Sleep well?" "Not really. I dreamed Veronica turned into a dragon and breathed fire all over my drawings." "What a terrible nightmare. But today is a new day, and dragons can be defeated." At that moment, the sound of high heels echoed down the hallway. Veronica appeared in the kitchen doorway, flawless as always, but with an irritated expression. "Is William sleeping in today?" she asked, ignoring Noah completely. "He's getting ready," Eliza replied, keeping her eyes on the skillet. "Good. I want to talk to him about enrolling Noah in the Chester Military Academy. It's an excellent school for difficult cases." Noah dropped his fork on his plate. "Difficult cases?" Eliza slowly turned toward her. "Children who need discipline, structure, proper education, away from inappropriate influences." "What kind of influences?" "People who teach children to be messy, disrespectful, eating with their hands." "I eat with a fork." "Be quiet when adults are talking." That was the last straw. Eliza turned off the stove, faced her fully, and crossed her arms. "Listen here, evil Barbie. This boy is 6 years old. 6. He's creative, smart, kind, and he doesn't need your approval to exist."
How dare you speak to me like that? I graduated from Harvard. And I graduated from the University of Real Life, where they teach you that children deserve respect. You're just a temporary employee. You have no right to comment on his education. And you're just a desperate ex-girlfriend trying to snag a rich husband. Veronica's face turned red with rage. At least I have class. I don't walk around barefoot in the house. I don't cook like a peasant, and I don't teach children to be wild. I'd rather be a peasant with a heart than a socialite without a soul. You're nothing but a rut. Go ahead, say it. An intruder, an opportunist trying to seduce William for his money. Elisa's anger boiled over. She grabbed a pancake from the stack, aimed, and threw it straight at Veronica's face. Splat. The pancake stuck perfectly to Veronica's flawlessly made-up forehead, slid down her face, and landed on her designer dress. Absolute silence. Noah's eyes went wide, his mouth dropped open, and then he burst out laughing. Veronica screamed like a banshee. "Oh, my face! My dress! You threw food at me!" Technically, it was an artisanal pancake, Eliza said, trying to keep her composure. "William! William, come here right now!" Her screams echoed through the entire mansion. William came running into the kitchen, still adjusting his tie, followed by Winston, who looked as if he had seen a ghost. "What's going on here?" William asked, out of breath. Then he saw it. Veronica with pancake batter on her face, Eliza holding another pancake like a weapon, and Noah trying to hide behind the kitchen counter. William opened his mouth, closed it, tried to process the scene. His lips twitched, and he had to bite the inside of his cheek to keep from laughing. "She assaulted me!" Veronica screamed, pointing at Eliza. "With food! This woman attacked me!" "Ms. Martinez," William said, trying to sound serious, "would you care to explain why there's pancake batter on Veronica's face? She called your son a difficult case and said he needs to go to military school. And she called me an opportunist. That doesn't justify culinary violence. It was emotional self-defense." "Fire this woman!" Veronica shrieked. At that moment, Noah stepped out from behind the counter. "Dad, Veronica is mean. She yelled at me yesterday and said I look like a street kid, and today she said I'm a difficult case. Eliza was just defending me." William turned to Veronica, who was trying to pull bits of pancake out of her hair. "You yelled at my son?" I was just educating him." Educating him by calling him a difficult case? "William, darling, you don't understand. I only want what's best for him." "The best, or what's most convenient for you?" Veronica realized she was losing. "So you're really going to believe a maid and a child over me?" "I'm going to believe my son," William said firmly. Veronica wiped the rest of the pancake from her face, pure venom in her expression. "Fine, William, you've made your choice. When this woman ruins your life and your son's, don't come running to me." She stormed out of the kitchen, her heels striking the floor like gunshots. Moments later, the sound of the front door slamming echoed through the mansion. William looked at Eliza, who was still holding the pancake. "You can put the weapon down, soldier." Eliza placed the pancake back on the plate, clearly embarrassed. "Sorry, I lost my temper." "Dad, you're not going to make Eliza leave, are you?" Noah asked, worried. William looked at his son, then at Eliza, and finally smiled. "No, champ. I think Eliza was just doing her job." "What job?" "Protecting you." Later that afternoon, Eliza was in the kitchen making cookies when she accidentally touched the edge of the hot baking tray. "Ow!" she cried, quickly pulling her hand back. William, who was walking past in the hallway, heard the shout and rushed into the kitchen. "What happened?" "It's nothing, just a silly little burn," Eliza said, waving her hand in the air. "Let me see." "There's no need. Eliza, let me see." She held out her hand reluctantly. William examined the burn carefully, his fingers gently touching her skin. "It's not serious, but it needs a bandage," he said, heading to the first aid kit. Eliza stood still, watching him look for the supplies. There was something intimate about the moment, his genuine concern. William returned with ointment and a small bandage. Carefully, he applied the ointment to the burn. His fingers were surprisingly gentle for such large hands. "Does it hurt?" he asked as he placed the bandage. "No, thank you." They were standing very close. Eliza could smell his cologne, see the details in his brown eyes. William finished with the bandage, but didn't let go of her hand right away. "Eliza, what a touching scene." They pulled apart quickly. Jorge was standing at the kitchen doorway, his expression ice cold. "Dad," I began. "Don't say a word, son. I can see exactly what's going on here." Jorge walked in, glaring at Eliza with disdain. "First you corrupt my grandson, then you attack a family guest, and now you're seducing my son." "Mr. Whitmore, I wasn't." "Silence." Jorge turned to William. "You have 24 hours to get rid of this woman, or I'll remove you from the company presidency, and you'll lose everything. The inheritance, the position, everything." "Dad, you can't." "I can, and I will. Choose, William. Her or your family. Her or your future." Jorge left the kitchen, leaving William and Eliza in heavy silence. William ran a hand through his hair, clearly torn. "Eliza, There's no need to say anything," she interrupted. "I understand." But when their eyes met, both of them knew things had gotten far more complicated than just a simple contract. After Jorge left, the silence between them felt heavier. Eliza's hand was still bandaged, but now the burn felt like the least of her problems. She was the first to speak. "William, listen." She met his gaze. "If you need to let me go, I completely understand." "Eliza, no, let me finish." She raised her good hand. "I don't want you to suffer because of me. Your company, your inheritance, your position, those things are too important to risk over a stubborn employee who throws pancakes at ex-girlfriends." William almost smiled at that last part, but the seriousness of the situation kept him grounded. "You're not just an employee, Eliza, and you're not stubborn. You're someone who genuinely cares about my son." "It's true, I care deeply about Noah," Eliza admitted, her voice softening. "That boy stole my heart from the very first day. He's special, William. Smart, funny, loving. He deserves all the happiness in the world." William leaned against the kitchen counter, as if the weight of the conversation was physical. "You know, Eliza, you're the first person who truly sees Noah for who he is. Not as the Whitmore heir, not as a project to be shaped, just Noah. That's how it should be. He's a child, not a status symbol."
William was quiet for a moment, staring out the kitchen window at the garden where Noah sometimes played. "Can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" Eliza nodded, sensing this was something very personal. Noah's mother, her name was Sarah. We got married young, probably too young. It was a convenient marriage. Our families knew each other. It was a good business alliance. Eliza felt a small ache in her chest, but said nothing. But Sarah was a good person, kind, well-mannered, everything expected of a CEO's wife. When we found out she was pregnant, we were happy, or at least we tried to be. William paused, clearly struggling with the memory. The delivery was complicated. There were complications the doctors didn't foresee. Sarah died just a few hours after Noah was born. William, I'm so sorry. I blamed myself for a long time. If we had gone to another hospital, if I had pushed for more tests, I shook my head. But the worst came after. Noah grew up without a mother, and I never knew how to fill that space. Eliza stepped a little closer, instinctively wanting to comfort him. You did the best you could. William looked at her. Over the years, I tried. I dated women my father approved of, women who were suitable to be a stepmother to the Whitmore heir. And what happened? No one never liked any of them. He was polite because I taught him to be, but he never connected. He never smiled the way he smiles at you. He never ran to hug any of them like he does with you every morning. Eliza felt her eyes fill with tears. They all saw Noah as either a problem or a stepping stone to get to me. You're the first one who sees him as a child who deserves unconditional love. Because that's exactly what he is, William. That's exactly what he is, and that's why... William stepped closer, his voice deepening. Noah needs you. He needs a woman in his life who truly cares about him, who loves him for who he is, not for what he represents. William. So don't worry about my father, Eliza. You're staying. I want you close to Noah. And I want you close to me too. The words slipped out before he could stop them. They looked at each other, both caught off guard by the raw honesty of the moment. William stepped back, clearly realizing he'd said more than he intended. I mean, to help with Noah, of course, as his caregiver, just like we agreed. But Eliza had already seen something in his eyes, something that had nothing to do with professional agreements. Of course, she said gently, to help with Noah. They looked at each other for a few more seconds, an unspoken tension filling the space between them, until William cleared his throat. Well, I need to make a few calls, business matters, and I need to finish these cookies before they burn. William left the kitchen, but paused at the door. Eliza. Yes? Thank you for everything you've done for Noah and for just being you. That night, William had trouble falling asleep, and when he finally did, his dreams were full of images of Eliza laughing with Noah, singing in the kitchen, flipping pancakes onto the ceiling, gently tending to the burn on his hand, just as he had once tended to hers. In the dream, they were in the mansion's garden, but it felt warmer somehow, more like a home. Noah was running between them, laughing joyfully, and Eliza wore a simple white dress, chasing after him. William walked toward them, and when Eliza turned to look at him, her eyes shined with something he'd long ago stopped looking for. Love. Real love. William woke up smiling, something he hadn't done in years. For a moment he stayed in bed, trying to hold on to the dream before it faded away. A soft knock on the door brought him back to reality. Dad, can I come in? Of course, champ. Noah stepped into the room, still in his pajamas, hair messy from sleep. He jumped onto the bed next to his dad. You were smiling in your sleep. Did you have a good dream? William sat up and pulled his son closer. Maybe. Why aren't you sleeping? I was thinking, Noah said with the seriousness of someone much older. Dad, are you going to ask Eliza to marry you? The question caught William completely off guard. Noah, that's...
It's complicated. Why is it complicated? You like her, she likes you, I like both of you. Sounds simple to me. William smiled at the logic only a child could offer. Grown-up things are a bit more complicated than that, champ. But you do like her, don't you? William looked at his son, those big, hopeful eyes, and realized he couldn't lie. Yes, Noah, I like Eliza very much. Noah grinned like he just won the lottery. Then marry her. That way she can be my real mom. If only it were that simple, William thought, hugging his son tighter. 3 days after the conversation in the kitchen, Eliza got a call from her best friend, Jessica, whom she hadn't seen in weeks. Eliza, I finally tracked you down. Where have you been? Jessica practically shouted over the phone. It's a long story, Jess. I'm working in a house. What kind of work? You dropped off the map. Thomas is going crazy looking for you. Eliza sighed. Thomas was a childhood friend, practically a brother, but lately he'd been showing romantic interest. She didn't return. What does Thomas want now? He got tickets for that art exhibition you've always wanted to see, and he booked a table at that Italian pizza place you two loved going to as kids. Eliza hesitated. It had been weeks since she'd gone out, and she missed her friends. I don't know, Jess. Come on, Eliza. It's just an afternoon. Thomas is excited to see you, and so am I. I'll meet you at the pizzeria at 6. After plenty of insisting, Eliza agreed. She asked William if she could go out, and he just nodded absent-mindedly, buried in work papers. Of course, you have complete freedom, he said without looking up. That afternoon, Eliza met Jessica and Thomas at Mama Lucia, a cozy pizza place downtown. Thomas greeted her with a hug that lingered a little too long, and Jessica bombarded her with questions about her mysterious job. Seriously, Eliza, you're different, more radiant. This job is doing you good. It's just a temporary job taking care of a child, Eliza replied, trying not to go into details. Must be a pretty special child, Thomas said with a smile. You've always been great with kids. Remember when we used to watch your little cousin?
They spent the afternoon reminiscing about childhood stories, laughing over old mischief. And Thomas never missed a chance to touch Eliza's arm or make affectionate comments about their past. What they didn't know was that William had decided to leave the office early to have dinner with Noah. When he stopped at a red light, he glanced out the window and froze. Eliza was sitting at a table in the pizzeria, laughing loudly with a dark-haired man who was leaning very close to her. He was holding her hand across the table, and she wasn't pulling away. William felt something hot and unfamiliar rise in his chest. Jealousy. Pure, irrational jealousy. The light turned green, but he stayed still for a few seconds, watching the scene until honking from behind forced him to drive on. The whole way home, he couldn't get the image out of his head. Who was that man? Why hadn't Eliza mentioned she had a date? And why did he care so much? When he got home, he found Noah in the garden playing with Winston. "Dad, you're home early. Where's Eliza?" "She went out," William replied curtly. "Went out? Where?" "I don't know, Noah. She doesn't have to tell me everything she does." Noah frowned, picking up on the strange tone in his father's voice. During dinner, William was clearly irritated. He cut his food with more force than necessary and answered Noah's questions with short, clipped words. "Dad, are you okay?" Noah asked, concerned. "I'm fine." "You don't look fine. You look like you just ate a sour lemon." "Noah, just eat your dinner." "Is this because Eliza went out? Do you miss her?" William stopped chewing and looked at his son. "Noah, Eliza is just our employee. She can go out whenever she wants." "But you like her." "That's not the point." Noah kept staring at him with that perceptive look that sometimes unsettled William.
You're jealous, aren't you? Noah, stop. My friend at school says when adults get jealous, they act grumpy like you're acting now. William sighed, realizing there was no hiding anything from his son. Eliza got home around 9, still smiling from the pleasant evening with her friends. She found William in the library, pretending to read a report. "Hi," she said from the doorway. "How was dinner with Noah?" "Fine," William replied without looking up from the paper. Eliza noticed something off in his tone. "Is everything okay? You seem tense." "I'm fine. How was your date?" The way he said date made Eliza instantly understand what was going on. "It wasn't a date, William. I was out with my friends." "Friends?" He finally looked up. It looked pretty intimate from the pizzeria window. Eliza's jaw dropped. "You were watching me?" "I was driving by and saw you. Hard not to notice when someone's holding your hand across the table." "Thomas is my childhood friend, practically a brother." "Didn't look very brotherly." Eliza felt her irritation rising. "Listen here, William Whitmore. I don't owe you any explanations about my personal life. Our contract doesn't include social exclusivity." "No, it doesn't." William stood equally irritated. "But it does include professionalism, and going around giving people reasons to gossip isn't very professional." "Gossip? I was eating pizza with friends. With a man who is clearly interested in you. And what if he is? Does that bother you?" The question hung between them like a bomb waiting to go off. William ran his hair through his head, clearly frustrated. "Yes, it bothers me, and it shouldn't." Eliza felt her heart race, but the anger was still stronger. "Why does it bother you, William?" Because he couldn't finish the sentence. He couldn't admit that just the thought of another man touching her made him burn with jealousy. "You know what?" William said, changing his approach. "Maybe it's better if we don't get more involved than we already are. After these 3 months, you'll leave just like we agreed." His words hit Eliza like a slap. "As agreed," she repeated, her voice cold. "Of course, that was always the plan." "Exactly. Great. Great." They stared at each other for a few seconds, both breathing heavily, the air thick with emotional tension. "Then I'm going to my room," Eliza said finally. "Good night, boss." She walked out of the library, slamming the door behind her, leaving William alone with his frustration and regret. Upstairs, Noah had heard everything through the slightly open door. He shook his head like a disappointed grown-up. Adults are so complicated. Why can't they just say they like each other? Downstairs, William threw the report onto the table, realizing he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. And in the next room, Eliza lay in bed holding back tears, wondering why his words had hurt so much. 3 months had never felt so long or so short at the same time. The next morning, the mood in the Whitmore mansion was ice cold. Eliza woke up with swollen eyes from crying and a decision made. If William wanted her gone after the 3 months, she wouldn't wait that long. She'd start preparing to leave now. She pulled her worn suitcase out of the enormous closet and began folding her few clothes. Each item she packed felt like she was putting away something that had barely even begun. Noah showed up in the doorway, still in his pajamas, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Eliza, what are you doing?" "Good morning, General. Just organizing my things." "Why are you putting your clothes in a suitcase?" Eliza paused, holding a shirt in her hands. Not sure how to explain to a 6-year-old that adults sometimes make things much harder than they need to be. "Well, remember when I told you I'd be staying here for a while? That time is almost up." But you can't leave." Noah ran to her, hugging her legs. "You're my almost mom." "Noah, sweetie." Eliza knelt down to his level. "You're the most special boy I've ever met, but I always knew I'd have to leave one day." "Why don't you like me anymore?" "I love you so much, General, more than you can imagine, but sometimes grown-ups make things complicated." "Is this because of the fight with Daddy last night?" Eliza was surprised. Noah had heard. Partly yes, but you can apologize. Winston and I had a fight yesterday because he said I couldn't wear socks on my head. But this morning we said sorry, and he even let me wear them like bunny ears. Despite the sadness, Eliza laughed. Some adult fights are a little more complicated than ones between kids and butlers. Noah stayed quiet for a moment, trying to understand. Are you really leaving? Not yet, sweetheart, but maybe in a few weeks. Noah walked out of the room without another word, leaving Eliza with a broken heart.
During breakfast, the tension was thick. William was being formally polite, treating Eliza like a distant employee. Noah was unusually quiet, pushing scrambled eggs around his plate without eating. "Noah, you need to eat," William said. "I'm not hungry." "You need proper nutrition." "Why do grown-ups talk about food when the world is ending?" Noah mumbled. William and Eliza exchanged a quick glance, but both looked away immediately. In the following days, the mood in the house changed completely. The noisy playtime stopped. The laughter in the kitchen disappeared. Noah wandered around like a sad little ghost, and Eliza tried to keep things normal, but it was clear she was forcing the smiles. William buried himself in work, leaving early and coming back late. When he was home, he avoided being in the same room as Eliza. Winston watched all of this with growing concern. The house had gone back to the cold silence of before, and he didn't like it one bit. On the fourth day after the fight, Winston knocked on the door of William's office. "Sir, there's someone at the door asking for Miss Martinez." "Who is it?" "A young man named Thomas says it's urgent." William felt that familiar sting of jealousy, but tried to act indifferent. "Tell Eliza to go see him." "Actually, sir, he specifically asked to speak with you first." Intrigued and annoyed, William walked to the front door. Thomas was there, visibly worried. "I'm Thomas Rivera, a friend of Eliza's. What can I do for you?" "May I come in? It's about Eliza and it's important." Reluctantly, William led him to the living room. "Is Eliza okay?" Thomas asked right away. "She's been calling me every day this week, crying, saying she needs to find a new job as soon as possible." William felt a sharp pain in his chest. "She's adjusting to some changes." "Changes?" Thomas leaned forward. "Mr. Whitmore, Eliza turned down an amazing job offer last week. A family in Boston offered her a live-in position taking care of their 3 kids. Great pay, her own place, full benefits." William froze. "She turned it down completely. She said she couldn't leave Noah, that she made a promise to a child and she doesn't break promises to children." The words hit William like punches. She really said that word for word? And now she's frantically looking for any job anywhere, like she's about to be kicked out of here? What's going on? Did she do something wrong? William ran a hand through his hair, feeling the full weight of his mistake. "No, she didn't do anything wrong. I'm the one who made a mistake. Mr. Whitmore, I don't know what happened between you two, but Eliza has never gotten this attached to a child. She talks about Noah like he's her own, and for the first time since I've known her, she was truly happy at work." Thomas stood. "She's been my best friend since we were 8. I can tell when she's pretending to be okay, and I can tell when she's really in love." "In love? With this job, with this house, with you two?" Thomas looked him straight in the eye. "Don't let her walk away, Mr. Whitmore. You'll both regret it." After Thomas left, William sat alone in the room trying to process everything he'd just heard. Eliza had turned down a better job to stay with Noah. She was looking for work now because he thought he wanted her gone. He'd been a complete fool. William rushed up the stairs determined to make things right and found Winston standing outside Noah's room looking panicked. "Sir, young Noah, he's not in his room." "What do you mean he's not?" "I searched the whole house. I found this on his bed." Winston handed him a note written in Noah's messy handwriting. "Dad, if Mommy Eliza leaves, I'm going with her. She needs someone to take care of her too. I packed my superhero shirt and the leftover pancakes from breakfast. We'll be a family somewhere else."
P.S. Winston can keep my goldfish. P.S. 2. Don't be mad at Mommy Eliza. It's my fault. General Noah. William felt the world crash down around him. Eliza! He yelled down the hall. She appeared instantly from her room. What happened? Noah ran away. William held out the note, his hands shaking. Eliza read it quickly, her face going pale. Oh my God, Noah! She whispered. He thinks I'm leaving him. Where could he have gone? I don't know. Wait, she thought for a second. The park, the one I took him to on the second day, he said it was the happiest place in the world. Let's go. William grabbed the car keys. As they ran to the car, Eliza kept blaming herself out loud. I should have explained better. I should have talked to him. He's just a little boy. Eliza, this isn't your fault. It's mine. I messed everything up. They looked at each other for a long moment, all anger and confusion forgotten in the urgency of finding Noah. We'll find him, Eliza said firmly. We will, William agreed. And for the first time in days, they were on the same side again. For Noah.
William drove through the streets of Chicago like it was a high-speed chase. Eliza sat in the passenger seat, gripping Noah's note, eyes scanning every corner. There, turn right, she shouted, pointing toward the entrance of Millennium Park. William slammed the brakes, and they jumped out of the car before it had even stopped moving. The park was busy, families enjoying the sunny afternoon, kids running, dogs barking, people having picnics. Where do we start? William asked, clearly panicked. The playground. He loved the slides, Eliza said, already taking off. They searched every slide, every bench, every tree in the playground. Nothing. Eliza was about to lose hope when William shouted, Eliza, over there! He pointed to a quieter area near the lake. There was Noah, sitting on a checkered blanket he'd clearly grabbed from the mansion's picnic storage. In front of him was a small makeshift table, an upside-down cardboard box, and on it, a row of pancakes wrapped in foil. There was a hand-painted sign nailed to a branch. Special pancakes, $1 each, to help my mom. Oh my goodness, Eliza murmured, torn between relief and the urge to laugh and cry at the same time. They walked over slowly. Noah was busy arranging his pancakes when an elderly woman stopped in front of his stand. Hello, dear. Are you selling pancakes? Yes, ma'am. These are handmade pancakes made by the best cook in the world, $1 each, and the money is to help pay my mom's rent when she has to leave. The woman looked confused. Your mom is leaving? She's going to be kicked out because she had an argument with my dad, but it's not her fault. Grown-ups are complicated. She was just defending my honor when a mean woman called me a difficult case. Oh my goodness, the woman put her hand over her heart. What a situation. How old are you, dear? 6, but I have business experience. My grandpa talks about profit and investment at dinner all the time. At that moment, a middle-aged man joined the small crowd gathering around Noah. Kid, do your parents know you're here? My dad is very busy being a CEO and getting mad at people who don't deserve it. But don't worry, sir, I'm very responsible. I brought water, snacks, and even a map of the park I drew myself. He proudly showed a crayon-covered piece of paper. And if I can't sell all the pancakes today, I'll be back tomorrow. Entrepreneurship requires persistence. William and Eliza exchanged a look somewhere between amused and panicked. Where did he get that word from? William whispered. Probably from you, Eliza replied, trying not to laugh. A teenage girl walked up to the stand. Can I try a pancake? Of course, but I have to warn you, you'll want to buy them all after you taste one. My mom has magical powers in the kitchen. The girl took a bite and her eyes widened. Wow, this is delicious. I know. My mom taught me secret recipes she learned from culinary angels. Culinary angels? The girl laughed. It's a long story. It involves pancakes stuck to the ceiling and talking refrigerators.
More people began to gather, drawn in by the combination of delicious pancakes and the most adorable salesman they'd ever seen. A man bought 3 pancakes and handed Noah $5. "Keep the change, champ." "Thank you, sir. Every dollar counts to help my mom stay at home." A woman with 2 small children approached. "What a sweet story. How many pancakes do you have?" 13, but I can take reservations for tomorrow if they sell out. My mom taught me how to manage inventory." William couldn't hold himself anymore. He and Eliza walked up to Noah's business. "General Noah," Eliza said gently. Noah looked up, torn between relief and fear of being in trouble. "Mama Eliza? Dad, did you come to buy pancakes? They're only $1 each, but I'll give you a family discount." "Noah," William knelt down to his son's height, "we had you very worried." "Sorry, Dad, but I had to start my business to help Mama Lisa. She needs money for when she leaves." "Honey," Eliza knelt down too. "Who said I was leaving? I heard you two arguing and you were packing your bag. And Dad said that after the 3 months, you'd go like you agreed." The people nearby started realizing that we're witnessing a family drama and quietly stepped back, though some kept watching from a distance. "Noah," William took a deep breath. "Dad made a very big mistake. I said things I shouldn't have said. Are you going to apologize to Mama Lisa?" "I am. And I'm going to apologize to you, too." Noah's face lit up with hope. "Does that mean Mama Lisa isn't leaving?" William looked at Eliza, whose eyes were brimming with tears. "That depends on her, champ. Dad was really foolish and might have hurt her feelings." "Mama Eliza," Noah turned to her, "will you forgive Dad? He gets a little crazy sometimes, but he's good, and he smiles when you're around, even when he thinks no one's looking." Eliza wiped her tears and smiled. "Of course I forgive him, General. We all make mistakes sometimes. So, you'll stay?" Eliza looked at William, searching his eyes for an answer. "If your dad wants me to stay, I do." "I really do," William said immediately. Noah squealed with joy and threw himself into both of their arms at once, knocking over the cardboard table and sending pancakes tumbling onto the blanket. "Now we're a real family," he declared. William wrapped his arms around them, feeling something settle into place in his chest. "Maybe it's time to stop pretending," he murmured, looking at Eliza over Noah's head. "Stop pretending what?" she asked softly. "That this is just a contract, that you're just an employee, that I don't—" He stopped, unable to finish the sentence in front of everyone. "That you don't what?" "That I'm not completely in love with you." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Eliza stared, speechless. "William, I knew it," Noah shouted, jumping up. "I knew you liked each other." The people around them started clapping, thinking they were witnessing a marriage proposal. William and Eliza laughed, embarrassed but happy. "Shall we go home?" William suggested. "Let's," Eliza agreed. "But first, let's help Noah pick up the pancakes." "Can I keep selling them tomorrow?" he asked hopefully. "No," William and Eliza said at the same time. "But it was a hit. I made $17.25. As they packed everything up, the small crowd began to disperse, but many stopped to buy the remaining pancakes, making Noah beam with pride over his business success. On the way to the car, he asked William, "Dad, now that you two officially like each other, can I have a baby brother?" William almost tripped over his own feet. "Noah, let's not rush things. I'd rather have a baby sister. I want to teach her how to make pancakes." Eliza laughed so hard she had to hold on to William's arm for support. And for the first time in weeks, the 3 of them looked exactly like what they were, a family.
That evening, after the episode at the park, the energy in the Whitmore mansion felt completely different. Noah was glowing, chatting nonstop about his business success during dinner, and for the first time in weeks, William and Eliza could look at each other without awkwardness. "Dad, did you know pancakes can be a source of sustainable income?" Noah asked, cutting his broccoli with the seriousness of a financial advisor. "I didn't know that, champ. Where did you hear about sustainable income?"
I heard Grandpa Horry on the phone talking about investments, so I decided to apply the concept to Eliza's pancakes. Eliza almost choked on her water. Noah, I'm not officially your mom yet. Just a technicality, Noah shrugged. My heart already signed the papers. William and Eliza looked at each other and laughed. There was something magical about the way that boy made complicated things seem so simple. After Noah went to bed, William found Eliza in the kitchen washing the dinner dishes. She was humming a soft tune he didn't recognize, but it had a sweet melody. "Winston doesn't like it when we do his work," William said, leaning on the counter. "I like doing the dishes. It relaxes me, and Winston already does plenty for us." "Eliza, about what I said at the park." She stopped washing and turned toward him, hands still covered in soap bubbles. "About being in love with me? Yes, maybe it wasn't the best place for a confession, but... William, did you mean it?" I stepped closer, closing the distance between us. "I've never meant anything more in my life." Eliza felt her heartbeat faster. "I'm in love with you too," she whispered. "I tried not to be, but you made it impossible not to fall for you. You and Noah." William gently touched her cheek, wiping away a soap bubble. "Can I kiss you? I thought you'd never ask." The kiss started out soft, almost careful, as if they were both making sure it was really happening. But when Eliza wrapped her arms around him and pulled him closer, William deepened the kiss, pouring into it all the frustration and longing of the past few weeks. When they finally pulled apart, they were both out of breath. "Wow," Eliza murmured. "Wow is a pretty good word for it," William smiled, resting his forehead against hers. "Violent!" They quickly stepped back and looked up at the top of the stairs in his pajamas, clapping dramatically. "Noah, what are you doing up?" "I was getting water and saw you kissing." He ran down the stairs. "So, does this mean you're officially dating now?" "Noah," Eliza began, "because I already wrote a list of dating rules for my house. Rule number 1, no whispering where I can't hear. Rule 2, kisses are allowed but no mushy stuff at the dinner table. Rule 3, how many rules do you have?" William asked, amused. 23! I'm being very organized about having parents who date." The next morning, William woke up with a smile he couldn't hide. Over breakfast, he and Eliza shared warm glances while Noah told a long, detailed story about flying pancakes that turned into unicorns. That's when George A. Whitmore appeared in the doorway of the dining room. "Good morning, family," he said, but his tone was far from cheerful. "Grandpa George!" Noah jumped out of his chair. "Guess what? Daddy and Mommy Eliza kissed last night." George turned pale. "He kissed?" "It was super romantic, just like in the movies. Now they're officially boyfriend and girlfriend." George looked from William to Eliza with a mix of shock, anger, and disappointment. "William, can I speak to you in private?" William sighed. He knew this moment would come. "Of course, Dad." In the office, George shut the door hard. "What on earth do you think you're doing?" "Dad, no. Don't give me excuses. You're getting romantically involved with the help. This is a scandal waiting to happen. Eliza is not just the help. She's an opportunist who used your son to get close to you. Watch what you say about her," William said, his voice turning firm. "William, have you lost your mind? Think about the company. Think about your reputation. Think about Noah's future." "I am thinking about Noah's future, and for the first time, I see a future where he's truly happy." "Happiness doesn't pay the bills, William. We have enough money to pay the bills for 10 generations. George stepped closer, pointing a finger at him. "If you marry that woman, I'll follow through on my promise. I'll remove you from the company. I'll cut off your inheritance. You'll be left with nothing." William was silent for a moment, letting the words settle. "All right," he said finally.
What do you mean, all right? If that's your decision, I accept it. I'll give up the inheritance, the company, everything. George stared at him stunned. You're bluffing. I'm not. Eliza is worth more than any amount of money, and Noah deserves a mom who loves him unconditionally. William, you can't be serious. I am very serious, Dad, and if you can't accept that, maybe it's best we take some time apart. George stood frozen, clearly not expecting this response. He had always controlled his son by financial threats. You really love her? More than I ever thought I could love anyone. George sighed deeply and sat down in an armchair as if he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. 3 generations of Whitmores married for convenience. I thought you'd follow the tradition. Maybe it's time to start a new one built on real love. She really makes you happy? She makes me feel whole, for the first time in my life. George didn't say anything for a long time. Then he got up and walked out. A few days later, William made the biggest decision of his life. He had a plan, and he needed Noah's help to make it happen. On Saturday morning, he woke his son up early. General Noah, I need your help on a special mission. What kind of mission? Noah asked, immediately curious. I'm going to ask Mommy Eliza to marry me, and it has to be special. Really? You're going to propose with a ring and everything? With a ring and everything. But I want to do it her way, with pancakes.
An hour later, William and Noah were in the kitchen preparing the surprise. William made perfect pancakes while Noah worked on the special strawberry syrup. Are you sure you can write the letters right? William asked, nervous. Dad, I'm basically a syrup artist. Trust me. When Eliza came down for breakfast, she found William and Noah standing side by side in the kitchen, grinning like a couple of troublemakers. What are you two up to? Nothing much, William said, trying to sound casual. We just made you some special pancakes. He placed the plate in front of her. The pancakes were perfectly stacked, and on top, written in crooked but readable letters with strawberry syrup, it said, "Will you marry me?" Eliza was speechless, looking from the plate to William, who was now kneeling beside the table with a small velvet box in his hand. "Eliza Martinez," he said, his voice slightly shaking, "will you marry me and officially become Noah's mom?" "Say yes! Say yes!" Noah shouted, jumping up and down beside them. Eliza had tears in her eyes, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." Noah burst into celebration. William slid the ring onto her finger, and Winston appeared in the kitchen doorway, smiling quietly. "Congratulations, future Whitmore family," he said. "I'll go prepare the champagne." "Winston," Noah ran to him, "can you be my honorary grandpa at the wedding?" "It would be an honor, young sir." And in that moment, surrounded by pancakes, strawberry syrup, and so much love, everyone knew they had finally found exactly where they belonged. 3 months later. The Whitmore mansion was unrecognizable. Instead of its usual formal, cold decor, the garden was filled with colorful string lights, yellow and white balloons, and rustic wooden tables. The air smelled of homemade food and pure happiness. Eliza had insisted on planning her own wedding, and the result was a celebration that blended elegance with simplicity, sophistication with warmth, just like her. "Miss Eliza," Winston appeared at her side, impeccable in his tuxedo. "The guests are arriving, and I can say everything is perfect." "Thank you, Winston. Are you sure the pancakes are staying warm?" "The pancake station is running flawlessly, and I must admit, having a personalized pancake table at the wedding was a brilliant idea." Eliza smiled. She had insisted on setting up a station where guests could make their own pancakes with a variety of toppings. After all, pancakes were a key part of their love story.
In the guest room that had become her temporary home, Eliza was getting ready with the help of Jessica, her maid of honor. I still can't believe my best friend is marrying a millionaire, and that this millionaire fell in love with you because of pancakes. Life's strange like that, Eliza laughed, looking at herself in the mirror. The dress was simple but perfect, a vintage white lace gown she'd found in a thrift store and had tailored. Jess, do you think I'm doing the right thing? Eliza Martinez, I've known you for 20 years. I've never seen you as happy as you've been these past few months. Of course you're doing the right thing. On the other side of the mansion, William was in his room with Thomas, who had somehow ended up as his best man, something no one would have predicted. Nervous? Thomas asked, straightening William's tie. Terrified. What if I'm not a good husband to her? What if I can't make her happy? William, did you see her smile when you proposed? That woman truly loves you. And more importantly, you've already been a family for months. Today is just making it official. At that moment, Noah came in wearing a tiny tuxedo and carrying a ring pillow. Dad, I'm ready for my special mission, he announced, striking a superhero pose. How are you feeling, General? Like today is the best day of my life. I'm going to have a real mom, and she promised we'll make pancakes every Sunday forever. In the garden, the guests were finding their seats. It was an unusual mix. Sharp-dressed business people sitting next to Eliza's humble friends, socialites sharing tables with employees from the old catering company where she had worked. Somehow, it worked perfectly. George sat in the front row, watching everything with a thoughtful expression. Next to him, Winston held the place of honor as Noah's honorary grandpa. The music began, not the traditional wedding march, but an acoustic version of At Last by Etta James, which Eliza had chosen because she said that's exactly how she felt, as if she had finally found her place in the world. Noah came out first, walking solemnly with the ring pillow, but halfway down the aisle he couldn't resist breaking into a little dance, drawing laughter from the guests. "That's my son," William murmured, smiling. Then Eliza appeared, walking down the aisle alone. She had insisted she didn't need anyone to give her away, because she was giving herself by choice. She was radiant, smiling through tears of joy. When she reached the simple flower-covered pergola that served as the altar, William whispered, "You look beautiful." "You don't look too bad yourself," she replied with a wink.
The officiant, a pastor friend of Eliza's, began the ceremony with a warm smile. We are here today to celebrate not just the union of William and Eliza, but the official formation of a family that, truth be told, has already existed for months. Noah waved to the guests from his place of honor. After the traditional vows, William asked to speak. "Eliza?" he began, his voice thick with emotion. "6 months ago, I thought I knew what family meant. I thought love was something you planned, organized, and fit into schedules and expectations." He glanced at Noah, then back at her. "Then you came into our lives, with your pancakes, your laughter, your unique way of seeing the world, and everything changed. You taught me that family isn't about perfection or appearances. It's about choosing, every single day, to love someone exactly as they are. You taught me that Noah didn't need to be shaped or fixed. He just needed to be loved. And you taught me that I deserved that kind of unconditional love too. I promise to love you on all your pancake-on-the-ceiling days, through every argument with smart fridges, and in every moment when you protect our family like a lioness. I promise to be the husband you deserve and the father no one needs." Eliza was openly crying now. When it was her turn, she wiped her tears and smiled. "William, when I was a child, my grandmother used to say that true love is when someone sees you at your worst and still chooses to stay. You saw me throw pancakes at your ex-girlfriend and still asked me to marry you." The guests laughed. "But seriously, you and Noah gave me something I thought I'd never have. A family, a place where I can be completely myself, pancake mishaps and all.
I promise to love both of you every day of my life. I promise to make pancakes whenever you need comfort. I promise to stand up to anyone who dares hurt you. And I promise that our home will always be filled with laughter, even on the hard days." When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," William and Eliza kissed while Noah shouted, "Now I have the best mom and dad in the world." The crowd burst into laughter and applause. That's when George stood up from his seat. Everyone fell silent, waiting to see what he'd do. He walked over to the newlyweds, stopped in front of Eliza, and, to everyone's surprise, smiled. "Eliza," he said, "I owe you an apology." "Mr. Whitmore." "No, please, let me speak. I spent months judging you for all the wrong reasons. I was so caught up in appearances that I couldn't see what really mattered. You brought joy back into this family." He looked at William and Noah, both beaming with happiness. "I haven't seen my son this happy in years, and my grandson, well, I've never seen him as whole as he is now." George held out his hand to Eliza. "Will you forgive me for being a stubborn old man?" Instead of shaking his hand, Eliza hugged him. "Of course I forgive you. We're family now." Noah, unable to hold back any longer, shouted, "Family hug time!" and dove into the arms of the three adults, who laughed and embraced him in return. As the celebration continued, with guests enjoying custom pancakes and dancing in the light-filled garden, William pulled Eliza aside to a quiet corner. "How does it feel, Mrs. Whitmore?" "Like every hard day in my life was worth it just to get to this moment," she said, kissing him softly. "Dad, Mom." Noah ran up to them, his face covered in strawberry syrup. "Can I stay up late tonight? It's a special day." "You sure can, champ. Today is a special day." And as they watched their son run back to the party, William and Eliza knew they had found exactly what they'd been searching for, even if they hadn't known they were searching at all. A family, true love, and pancakes for life.
What did you think of Eliza and William's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate the story from 0 to 10. What's your score? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to follow all our stories. And check out more heartfelt tales by clicking right here on the end screen.